So today I think I wanted to have a general discussion about if XR is dead. If you guys don't know who we are, Pip is a awesome XR. What would you consider yourself? What is your official title?
I get so many different titles. Design engineer, product designer, UX designer, one of those many things. Oh, UX prototyper is my current title, I think.
Oh yeah, you're basically a unicorn, which I am envious about. So that's
Don't know
awesome.
about
And I am a product designer here in San Francisco. I work at Bezi right now, which we've pivoted to AI, but we're not going to be talking about AI today. We're going to be talking about XR and is XR dying? Is it dead? What's going on with this medium? And I have a lot of thoughts, but how do you view the state of XR today, Pip?
I'd say XR's not dead. It's probably just in a restful sleep.
You say it's a peaceful sleep. I call it a medicated coma. And the reason why I do that is because it's obvious that no one's putting any capital into this right now. Meta is trying to basically rework its entire ecosystem to work around Horizon Worlds and to control its ecosystem because I think they know it's going to get bigger. That's going to taint XR. I'm not sure what the hell Apple's doing. Google is putting out their own version of things. But I don't think it's like a coma to a certain extent that is going to lead to death. I just think that they are putting it on ice while everyone chases AI.
Yeah, that's fair. And you can see a pretty obvious future where AR glasses are the perfect AI product, right? Because you no longer have to hold your phone up to things.
But I think we'll consider them two different things, right? The same way we view mobile phones today and televisions. I think XR as a broad medium is interesting. I think that everyone is trying to lean on AR to basically be the savior of XR. And I don't know necessarily if that's going to be the case, as much as everyone likes to see it that way.
Yeah, I'm skeptical that we're gonna get to a really nice form factor in the next 5 years. Maybe with a little heads-up display that might be fine, but I don't think we'll get full fat AR for a while.
No, and looking at Google's little mobile glasses ad they did with even that would be very difficult to pull off. Getting a headset even with that form factor that lasts longer than 2 hours.
This guy doesn't last more than 2 hours. So
I know, and you have a battery the size of your fist on it. So I mean, right now I think it's interesting. I'm assuming if this goes out, people would have seen the conversation we had with Leah from Google about her onboarding and stuff with XR. From your perspective, working at a company working at Fit, are you guys seeing a drop of growth, or are you seeing consistent growth, or are you feeling the wave?
Yeah, working at Fit is interesting. So everyone, from what I hear, is seeing a drop in growth. Basically Meta told everyone that they'd be seeing amazing numbers at the end of this year because of 3S and that sales were going to be fantastic, and basically they were wrong. And the predictions were way too positive, and everyone's seen a drop compared to last year, a significant drop. Fit is really interesting because we're managing to ride it out pretty well. We were number one fitness app on the Quest Store over Christmas, and we're managing to keep our numbers okay, but we're still seeing a drop compared to last year.
And I have a feeling that's going to continue for a bit. And I'm just trying to understand when that next growth is going to happen. I think it's going to take a year or two of hibernation before we start popping up. We're going to need to see a form factor that is both ergonomic, affordable, and can actually take advantage of the medium. And I was interesting talking with Leah about the medium because she worked on Google Earth, right? She didn't work on the operating system.
Yes, she's on Google Maps and Google TV for spatial.
Yeah, and I think that for me, the biggest issue I have with XR isn't predominantly its ergonomics or price. It's just I don't know what to do with it. I think inside of the XR space, a lot of people have a lot of cool ideas, and they're just really hard to produce. And everyone is being locked behind this artificial wall of flat design that doesn't actually take advantage or show value to the medium. And for me, I'm like looking at Google, like the Google headset. I'm like, okay, this is cool. I don't think it's going to perform well. I think everyone kind of knows that there needs to be some kind of wow innovation moment, but I'm not sure if any major company could actually pull it off. Everyone is just far too bureaucratic, or like Meta just kind of going off the deep end in their own way, trying to solidify their platform.
I think we've had two like proper wow innovation moments in like the recent past, which is like Quest 2 and the Vision Pro probably. Like the Quest 2 wow innovation because it's like proper full fat VR without tethered, and then the Vision Pro wow innovation because it's like an operating system that's actually had thought put into it and like detail and as much time as like Meta have been putting into theirs, but like without actually showing anyone, so it's like nice and cohesive and nice. But I think part of my gut says that maybe like Apple's next headset, if it's affordable, could be the thing that actually begins to push growth. But the Vision Pro was such a flop that worries me that like maybe they've soured the waters in the market.
So here's the thing, okay, and this is maybe where it could get controversial. I think that Apple doesn't have the innovation or the skill they once had to produce products that are meaningful anymore.
I don't think that's controversial.
Well, if you look at the Apple Vision Pro, I love that headset, but I never use it. And when people say it's because it's a dev kit, I'm just like, yes and no. And I think that's the problem. They didn't know what to do with it. And the question is like, can Apple put out dev kits anymore in the fashion they did? And I don't know if they can, or if they can, they needed to be more proactive about it, because what they literally did was take design principles of glass and metal outside of context and killed any form of ergonomics. We also drove up the price. They also then shoved so much technology into the freaking thing that made it impossible for people to actually maintain or even utilize. And then they put out a app store that no one could promote with. So when people say Apple released a dev kit, I'm like, yeah, they did, but they didn't do it in a development way. They did it in an Apple way, and to their detriment.
They definitely failed to like seed the market properly. I guess the high price was part of that issue, right? Because they did the same thing with like their watch and their phone, and that they were fine because they were relatively affordable. But the Vision Pro is just like so ridiculously expensive for what it is. That no one's going to be buying it unless you're like a super either Apple fan or XR fan.
Yeah, when I travel with my Vision Pro, it's amazing. But I'm also even running the same thing with, my Quest 3. I use it for VR chat and when I develop. That's the only thing I do. There's no interesting application or feature, or when I work out. When I work out too, actually. I use this a lot when I work out. But there's no interesting application or value of this. And what I can hobble together on my PC and connect it with to this, like where I can put a million different screens around me, I can immerse myself and all. If all that stuff was streamlined in a way, like I have like OVR toolkit, I have all these things that supplement my whole experience. If this was in a smaller form factor, I didn't have to worry about wireless connection to my computer, I think I would be a lot more interested in a device like this. And a lot of it is ergonomics, but a lot of it is ecosystem. And I don't see anyone working on an ecosystem that can draw attention or show value. And all of the value that does exist on this headset is buried under 5 to 8 layers of shit, right?
Man, yeah. It's the worst.
It's the worst. And I do think someone's going to come along and solve this problem. I think that because of these major players, supply chain is going to get cheaper. People are going to be able to create their own headsets. I even think we could see a Linux-based headset that is modular that will be able to run a lot of Steam games, and I think we will see the rise of Wi-Fi 7 that will start solving these problems. But the thing that's holding XR back right now is not just a hardware issue, but a bureaucracy issue as well. And all of those things, let alone a social adoption issue, makes it really difficult. So like, if people are going to ask me, should I become an XR designer today? I would say yes, but you should not get into it for money. The job market is just, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And then if you can ride that wave and grow alongside of it, you'll be in good shape. But I still think 2027, 2030 is basically when it's going to start going back like it was in 2020. And then I don't think we're going to go into a major dip after that, but it's just going to be brutal. And so for me, when Leah was like, you guys, moved away from straight XR, I was like, well, design is like a universal thing for me. And I like XR. I still practice XR. I still want to put out things for XR and experiment with it. But part of being a designer in this day and age is also about surviving and using technology to build a better society. But at the same time, if you're a creative, you have to take advantage of AI and understand what it can do so you can use it for the best.
No, I definitely agree. I think the more kind of pies and buckets you can pull from as a designer and be able to like stitch the kind of multidisciplinary nature of things together, the stronger your designs are going to be. Like, I mean, even Leah was really interesting because she has such like a varied background in like finance and health and crypto and just random stuff, and you could see that like she was pulling different aspects of that into her other designs. I don't think like switching to AI is necessarily an evil, and I think expanding out into AI is I think both of XR and AI share the common problem that if it's really easy to forget the human at the center of it and like the user there, and like even more so than just say like 2D web apps. Like it's so important both for XR. It's important because you've got a computer strapped to your face and your body is the input, and for AI it's important because if you don't have the human there, then you just get garbage out.
I mean, I think both also suffer from grandiose illusion as well. They seem like there's more solutions in search for problems than vice versa. I think that when I look at this headset, in my mind, I could theoretically see things, but it's through 5 shades of haze, right?
What do you mean 5 shades of haze?
Like you kind of like, if I was going to say the future of XR as a medium and the way that I talk about it is not going to be traditionally like iPads in front of your eyes. It's going to be integrated and intertwined into the physical experience. People are like, cool, what does that look like? And I'm like, I can kind of see what it looks like, but I can't tell you what it looks like. AI is very much the same way, right? And AI is kind of like, it can do anything. And I'm just like, well, I mean, AI is computing, so I guess AI computing can do almost anything, depending on like the logic you put on it. But the more I dive into AI, the more I realize there's like, instead of 5 shades of like opaque shades of things in front of me that I have to look through and squint through, it's 100. And the more that I get into it, the more I find the nuance, but the more I get lost, right? And so as a product designer, I'm looking at these things and I'm like, okay, like what is a technological feasibility of these things? Not just from a technical perspective, but also from a sociological perspective. And how will this evolve over time? And the problem is like with that, you have a lot of charlatans telling you what they see and what is the truth. And I could be one of those, right?
I don't know. I think a phrase I really like, I can't remember where I heard it, was tourists, in terms of people who are like coming into an industry, like riding that hype wave. kind of making these like grandiose statements, and then as soon as like that bubble pops, they're on their way out, and there's no depth to it, right? There's no like scratching below the exciting surface. But I think you're right. I think in terms of like the grandiose nature of things, like in my ideal world, I'd love for both AI and XR to become more ambient and like blend into the background more. Like AI especially feels like a tech that could take advantage of like your general surroundings and your knowledge base and like what it knows about you, and just ambiently serve you useful information. Or like you look at a bookshelf, you just say, hey, where's this book on my shelf, what's this about, and like just tell me what related books are to like the book I'm holding up now. All I can ever think about are bookshelf interactions. It's really I'm a parody of myself. But XR as well is like super interesting because it's less ambient because you're strapping a face computer to your face, but because it's interacting with your surroundings again, like part of me really, I can't stop coming back to like this like calm ambient future where it's taking into account your surroundings but not like in the hyper reality sense.
I think at some point soon I want to talk about the doom and gloom of both AI and XR. I think that, to your point, like I see a lot of, I think the classic things I see in XR that I started to think about when I started creating stuff in XR, like the bookshelf, the record player, the shopping, placing items inside of your scene, you know, all of that stuff is really cool exercises. Though at the end of the day, it's like, when am I going to have a headset on my head that I'm going to want to be looking at my bookshelf?
Yeah.
And then like I have the ability with my phone today to look at my bookshelf, or I can just type in the name of the book, or I can just say, what's this book?
Yeah.
And it'll be a lot faster, and I don't have to put on a headset to do it. So my thought process of that world was like, we're in headsets all the time. Like, and I don't think we're going to see that until 2040. I don't think that's going to happen.
Definitely
like
not. These are speaking of dev kits, these are dev kits for like 2 decades time.
Yes, no, this is what I consider a really good dev kit, right?
So,
like
yeah, Windows 95.
This is Windows 95 for sure. It lasted forever, and it gave us a lot of awesome stuff. It had a platform that didn't know how to handle its demographic I mean, it understood its demographic to a certain extent, but its demographic was too niche. And when it comes down to AR gaming, I think that's very much the case. Very few good games, if any, except like Half-Life Alyx and like VR chat. And then it was just like a bunch of weird shit that, like, when I was growing up in the early 90s, I got a bunch of CDs of like encyclopedia, and people were doing Microsoft Bob, and people were trying to do all of this stuff. And then it really wasn't until 1999 or 2000 where where Mac released their system that started bringing people into it. And then it honestly wasn't until probably Facebook in like 2004 or the iPhone in 2007 that actually ripped the gate off of computing. And I think that's where people are trying to hope AR glasses are going to be that bridge, and they may, but it's not going to be as interesting to me as actually completely changing your environment like VR will be.
Again, can't remember the source of this, but someone I was listening to was saying that there's going to be like 3 form factors in the future. There'll be the VR headset still, there'll be glasses with a heads-up display, and then there'll be like full-on AR glasses, and those will all like intermingle. And maybe you'll get like the in-between one as well, which is just like the Meta Ray-Bans as they are today. I'm really interested to see like where those form factors settle out, and like where the usefulness and like the actual convenience comes in. Because convenience, you're talking about, oh, why don't I use my phone? Like, why don't I just talk to my phone instead of the bookcase? But like, if you have like glasses on your face that you're just able to talk to or like tap with, the convenience is the reason you do it, right? And that's like what we're currently lacking with our face computers.
I mean, I think people still choose convenience over phone over a television that's actually embedded into their house anyway. So
phone's more convenient than a TV.
It is more convenient, but even if I have a TV in the same room, I still watch my stuff on my phone. just because it's just ergonomically and like I can take it with me wherever I want.
It's the
Right?
convenience.
It's convenience, and there's some people who just only watch YouTube on their television. That's actually their largest growing demographic at the moment is television. But it is like, I think that immersion, I think then it gets is like how important is immersion over convenience. And that is a interesting that's an interesting debate. So you have to leave in 20 minutes. But I hope this was fruitful. I want to dive into if there's any products that you've liked recently. And products, like you can tell me a product that you hate or that you love, and I'll do the opposite. How's that?
That sounds good. I'll do like. I had some ideas for hate, but they're it's low hanging fruit. So I'll go for love because there is like a product I've like recently fallen in love with. So I've had to my shame, I've had to get into a lot of 2D design recently.
Welcome,
and
buddy.
doing flat panels in VR. Here we are. Here it goes. So because of that, I've been getting into Figma and all the tooling around that. But Figma is not what I'm calling out today. I've gotten into this motion design tool called Jitter, which lets you like basically copy stuff from Figma into it and then just animate it, and then you can export it to a Lottie file, which you can use to like just like playback animation on the web. And it is so smooth, so convenient. The constraints are there, so I don't like have decision paralysis. I just go in there. I'm like, okay, I can move stuff, I can grow stuff, I can scale stuff. It's all clips nicely, and it's all linked to my Figma. It's fantastic. It makes me so happy.
So, wait. So is this kind of like Rive?
Yeah, kind of like Rive, but even more constrained, I guess.
Even more constrained. Well, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's really nice, and it's really easy to use. It's literally just drag and drop. You've got like a timeline.
I think that motion design, a lot of people were doing interesting motion design before, and none of it was really technologically possible. Just because it was just so expensive. But I think what we're starting to see is that we're gonna be able to see a lot more interesting products and a lot more engaging products because this stuff's actually starting to be embedded into mobile applications and stuff like that. And are you using this for XR?
Yeah, so Fit uses a Unity plugin called Viewplex that lets us like render web pages in Unity and then interact with it in XR. So that's how we like build all our 2D UI. So I'm literally, as you said, because it's so convenient and you can just make something and then like export it to a Lottie file and it'll just work. It means that like the devs I pass it on to literally just have to chuck it into their canvas and like do lottie.play or whatever the API is, and it'll just work. TM.
Well, I'm excited to dive into this and see what I can roll into it. So yeah, link down below. If anyone wants to try Jitter, let me know if you guys build anything. Throw it into the Discord link down below. I think that would be super awesome. So let me talk about something that I hate. Maybe this is going to be a great segment. We got to be consistent. I'm always going to be the hater.
The Red Devil costume already, right?
Yeah, it's a Red Devil. I'll let you be negative next time. So the product that I hate, that I think that everyone has some kind of opinion about it, is Spotify.
Ooh,
I think
nice.
Spotify. I remember when I was interviewing long time ago for large companies, I did a critique on Spotify, and people are like, everyone hated it, and I was kind of indifferent. But now I truly loathe Spotify. So the reason why I don't enjoy Spotify, for many reasons, is that they don't put the music lover or like they don't put the music experience or the audio experience forward. It's not a user focused company, it's a money focused company, and that's fine. They have to make capital, but they have decided, because of their constraints, that they had to shove every possible thing in their application with terrible information architecture, and they prioritize sales over anything else. So if I'm listening to a DJ, nothing like I am a music elitist. I have, 5 different music services that do different things. I use Tidal because I love my like high quality music FLAC. I love being able to. I'm like an audiophile in that way.
You're one of those 5 Tidal users. Congrats.
Yeah, I'm one of the 5 Tidal users, exactly. But I still listen to Spotify a lot. But like when I am listening to something and then Taylor Swift comes on, someone I truly despise, not from a persona perspective, but her music is horrific, in my opinion. Like, I'm like, why is this being shown to me right now? And then you realize, like, right now I'm like looking at my homepage, and it's just like 90% of it is stuff that they're trying to push, that they're making capital off of, or they hijack my experience while I'm listening to music to try to promote an album by Lil Yachty or by whoever. And I'm like, why is this relevant? I'm like, because they're trying to make money. But I'm like, I'm paying you like $20 a month. Like, why are you doing this to me? And as a product, I think this is like an example of a product that started off doing something really well, which is solving a need, and they had a really hard time making money doing it, granted, and they pioneered the ability for all of us to listen to whatever we want for $20 a month. And I remember being the kid having to pay $20 for a CD in like 2000, right? And that's $20 then, and then that would be like worth $40 now, right? And I think that's cool, but at the same time, they are just an example of they're going to be like, you just have to deal with it because we know you're not going to leave, and we're going to make a terrible user experience. And I'm excited when this stuff it needs to get ripped apart. Like, their service is just too complicated and it competes with itself in every aspect. And that's why I hate Spotify.
Good rant. I agree. I think it's so fascinating that the journey they've been on from something that was like so obviously user-centered and like so beautifully designed and like such a happy, like good vibes app to something now that is just like absolute trash. I don't know anyone who is like vaguely positive towards it anymore, at least not in the design world. Consumers, like people I know who use it, are like neutral towards it, I guess, because like Spotify Wrapped is still a big thing, but even then people know it sucks for artists. People know that like audiobooks are getting smashed in their face in videos and AI weirdness. It sucks.
Well, I mean, I think Spotify with all these other services are going to push people into a new era of piracy.
Oh, it started already.
Yeah, it started already. And I think the only savior to this stuff is there has to be a new model that basically that gives priority to artists to host their own things. I know they have SoundClouds, they have all this stuff, but I have a feeling AI is going to help people discover things a lot easier. And I think that where we're going is that these pay for services are going to either be replaced by other pay services that have greater reach, or they're just going to be annihilated from piracy. And there's just going to be no way they can stop where we're going with all this stuff.
I think it's really interesting that people, at least from my perspective, are beginning to realize that if you stream something, you don't own it, or like even digitally, you don't own it. And it seems like physical media, it seems like there's a small physical media comeback in terms of people actually wanting to own what they buy and be able to like not be scared that it's going to be taken away from them, right?
I mean, I have Steam. I have probably 500 games on Steam, right? And I don't own any of them. Am I worried that they're going to be taken away from me? Not really, but then again, I have trust in Steam, which is not a good place to be. If it's Nintendo, I would not have a trust in Nintendo, because Nintendo would be like, new console, new license. Here's this 8K remix. I'm like, I don't even have it. This is a 1080p screen. Like, why do I want this? They're gonna like try to flex their control over us. So there's a lot of people who want the ability to own their digital media, but I think the only way to do that is through legislation. I don't know if there's a way to do that otherwise.
You want to legislate Nintendo? That's what I'm hearing.
Well, the problem is like everyone is charging these outrageous tickets. You're basically leasing them, and I don't know the time of the lease. And I'm gonna imagine it's my lifetime, but that's like my imagination. But I have no idea. And then I think that we are gonna, once we enter into this new realm of AI, when it's actually integrated into everything, which would probably be another 10 years, it's not gonna be faster than that as much as people like to think it is, because we don't have the infrastructure to do that.
I don't think we've got the UX infrastructure to do that either. Like, I don't think the design's ready for it to be integrated everywhere. Like, people have attempted to, and it's yeah.
It has to, you're going to have your operating systems, take the knee and basically restructure their whole monetization system. You have to have UX be able to tailor itself in real time to people. It's not going to be a quick thing. I think 10 years is still really fast.
Yeah.
But I think that we're not going to get anywhere close to that. And I think that's probably how long it's going to, and by that time, I think XR will probably, to wrap everything up here, that's where I think XR will probably find its footing, is when you can have your operating system be dynamic to the user and be personalized to the user. And I think that we're going to see a lot of these moves of better applications and stuff like this happen on headset before they happen on mobile. And I have a feeling, when would I put this on? I'm like, well, when the form factor gets smaller, cheaper, $500, not bad, and I can have things dynamic. If it's easier in my life to manage content and my experience and what I want to do when I sit down with this thing, and I think in 10 years that makes a lot of sense. But for people just going into this field right now, I would say just diversify, learn Jitter. I'm going to be playing with Jitter, play with ChatGPT, learn Unity, all of that stuff. And cool. And I'll let you go here because you have a meeting.
This is fun. I enjoyed it. I always enjoy thinking about whether XR is dead. I'm glad that it's not. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I think we've got a long way to go with XR, and as you said, if we can ride that wave, we'll be in a good place. But it's going to be a bit of a nasty wave for a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a nasty wave, but I think it's probably a really good time to get into it because you can learn a lot of different skills that will translate to other places, and you will be ready to take advantage of it. I think that is a discussion for another time, but I think designers soon, there's going to be a lot less of us because there's going to be a lot less demand. But if you are one of the people who have the skills and can diversify and who's hungry, I think that it'll be very fruitful for you. Cool. Well, thanks, Pip. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.
Cool. Thanks, Dan.